So, welcome everyone to this episode of All About Soul. I have a guest with me today, Allison Lorne, and Allison works with women's health, specifically guiding women in perimenopause who want to celebrate this opening into greater embodiment and perhaps eldership. But I will let Allison introduce herself. So, first of all, welcome.
Thank you, Inga. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the invitation. I'm happy to be here and speak to your audience and, address perimenopause as a rite of passage and give it its due honor. A stage in women's health that is so often stigmatized when we encounter ageism and this sense of sweeping an experience under the rug and becoming invisible at a time in life that has so much potential for leadership and empowerment.
Rite of passage. That's what I like. Yes. Yes. Um, so let me open with a question of how did you get into doing what you're doing holistically and with women? What brought you to this particular point and direction in your life?
It's clear to me I have been a midwife for many lifetimes. When I first started studying, my hands already knew what they were doing. The first time I delivered a baby, I knew exactly what I was feeling and what position the baby was in. And so I had guardian angels with me all along. I feel like I've had this inheritance, this genetic encoding of deep wisdom and knowledge in how to serve women in healthcare. And being in modern systems, I went to nursing school, I went to midwifery school, and I spent 20 years working in hospitals, delivering babies and delivering care directly to women in Western care models. And in the last few years, it really became not sustainable anymore for me to find any satisfaction in a system that's really prioritizing volume of patient visits and getting people in and out as quickly as possible and writing prescriptions without a lot of teaching and without holding patients body, mind, and spirit in a holistic approach that really delivers healthcare in a way that is heart centered and soul led, right? So that's what really called me to create my own private practice, to see patients in much longer appointments and more in depth assessments and treatment plans, giving birth now to this work that is really part of my mission to reach as many people as possible to help shift this paradigm and create this transition into elderhood, to crondom, as something sacred and beautiful to be celebrated and uplifted. Yeah.
Wow. So you do work with the womb and the womb realms in all its, as you were talking, I was just seeing those threads emerge, right? The birth and kind of the physical aspect of it. But I was seeing threads emerge into womb realms as such, like the creation realms. Oh, it's the whole picture.
Yeah, it's a
And
whole
it's
circle,
magical.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
of
the
course it's
cycle of life, right? Yeah, and that we get to, yeah, with great honor and privilege, be able to navigate all these life changes in a woman's life, right? Like coming into adolescence, the brain is completely rewired by hormones. And we see this beginning of the maturation of the brain into adulthood. We see this again in motherhood and in the postpartum period, the brain being completely rewired, the psyche being completely rewired by a hormonal event. And again, in perimenopause and menopause, we see the hormonal surges and storms come in and really create an opening. This is the time in adulthood that we have the most agency to design our evolution. As adolescents, we're often looking to peer groups and we're looking externally to understand who we are. In motherhood, we're often focused primarily on the newborn and finding our role in how to fulfill the motherhood role. In elderhood and crondom, we have this opportunity to really take priority, take investment, assessment of what it is that we want to live in this chapter. How do we want to show up? What is the role we want to present? What is our legacy? And the psyche is again being completely rewired. So are we going to choose to use this as a launch pad, as a diving board? Are we opening into higher levels of meaning and stewardship and leadership? Or are we falling victim to so many of these messages that we've heard for so long, that are about staying small and being quiet and don't speak up and don't make too much noise, don't shine too bright? That paradigm is old, outdated, and falling by the wayside. Our modern time is asking for us to stand in our power, to stand in our light. And perimenopause is one of these times that really the heavens open and the light comes down, and can we be in receivership for
Ah,
coming through that portal into higher meaning and higher purpose?
yeah, yeah. Would you say that the modern paradigm of shifting modern paradigm, but still very present modern paradigm of a woman as, eternally young and eternally seductive and a little bit eternally dependent, um, does this paradigm make us reject or suffer unduly in perimenopause or as this age approaches?
Most definitely. Yeah, you're totally hitting the nail on the head. What the capitalist systems that thrive on misogyny and ageism, right, in order to create false problems so that they can sell false solutions, uh, is all about creating consumer based activity to sell product,
Yeah,
right? And when we really own our sovereignty and the beauty of our bodies and understand, right, that this is a vessel to celebrate in all its forms and all its stages, none one more beautiful than the other. If anything, lived experience, the honor of wisdom, the value of the grandmother, the crone, that can tell the stories and teach the younger generations. We certainly have failed our elders in elevating them and honoring the wisdom that they have when we focus on this hyper sexualized youth images as being this model of the ideal woman. And it's so cultural because you see in other cultures that the elders are uplifted, that the elders are honored, that a woman with full breasts down to her waist after breastfeeding several babies is considered more beautiful than the prepubescent
mm-hmm.
body, right? To the female body, yes, as being more beautiful, more desirable, as younger is something that's been socialized, right? For at least 100 years. I'm looking back and I'm just thinking back into all the art that has come out of more modern cultures, right? When we go back and we look at art that was celebrating the divine feminine form. We see the Venus of Willendorf, we see cave paintings, and the women are full figured, right? Rotund, full hips, large breasts hanging. It isn't the perky, young, youthful, lithe, feminine ideal of beauty that our ancestors understood as being the higher form of beauty. And I'm just saying that the value of lived experience and wisdom, and it's the aging body that represents that wisdom. It's not that an older woman's body is more beautiful than a younger woman's body or vice versa. It's just that the body is a map. The body shows us what experience looks like. It shows the story of somebody's life. And when we see the aging body, the older body, we know that that person has lived experience. They've had years and years on this earth, and they have deep story.
Yeah, yeah, and that's beautiful. I remember one of my teachers told me that in cultures where this eldership is valued, where older women are acknowledged as elders, as leaders in their community, um, they experience less or almost no symptoms of perimenopause that we are normally talking about, like hot flashes and etc. I tend to believe her because she was right on other things. That even the symptoms that are commonly experienced in the culture, not by everyone, they vary according to how we interpret the worth of our life, right? The worth of our body. So
Yeah, speaking to that, that it's so interesting, and I think that it really illustrates the context for how we interpret these symptoms. Hot flashes in and of themselves may have existed. The falling levels of estrogen in later menopause give rise to the phenomenon of hot flashes.
mhm.
But do we see them as an inconvenience when you're at a board meeting wearing a wool suit and a silk blouse and you're sweating through and there's no time and space to give yourself into the somatic experience because you have a PowerPoint presentation going on behind you? Or are you experiencing a hot flash, right, as a divine, yeah, opening to your body's power? And when you experience a hot flash as a sensual event, it's incredibly beautiful and empowering. What to feel the fire in your body coming through and be able to open to that and be in awe of your power, the body showing up and saying, "Feel me now." Then we're like, this is an example of a woman in her power. This isn't something to hide. It's something to celebrate. And so when we look at it differently, when we have a different context for it, it's not a handicap. It's not something to remedy. It's actually something that evidences how powerful your body is. And furthermore, these other symptoms, I work a lot in the emotional side of anxiety, irritability, rage. When we stigmatize mental health, women having those experiences then are often being prescribed antidepressants as a first line of treatment. There's no time and space in the day to day life to say, I'm having an anxiety attack, let me feel it. It's,
Mhm.
I'm having an anxiety attack, I need to get ready for this meeting. I need to take this call. I don't have time for an anxiety attack right now.
Mhm.
Uh, Versus in a different paradigm and a different culture and a different civilization, an anxiety attack very well may have been interpreted as something to give into and feel through. Anxiety attacks are incredibly activating. The power that comes through the body in an anxiety attack is it feels like fire. It's incredibly powerful. It feels uncontrolled. It feels scary, but fear and excitement are two sides of the same coin. And
Mhm.
if we get through the resistance to the anxiety and the fear and we move into excitement about how much power my body's generating right now, my heartbeat is elevated, my respirations are elevated, I'm sweating. Can I feel the power that's coming through my body right now? And celebrate this as yeah, a signal of enlightenment. This is what really creates that interface between the spiritual and the physical, when our bodies are saying, wake up, the time is right now in this moment. I am going to force this sensation. You're going to have to drop everything and feel me. And that's the beauty of perimenopause, when we can look at it as an opportunity to feel into the experience instead of trying to resist it and push it away. Then we have an incredible opportunity, right, to expand our awareness of the event and see what else is the body trying to tell us in even more subtle forms. And I always say, this is a quote that I repeat often, is if you listen to the body when it whispers, you don't have to hear it scream.
Screams. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say here is also the body, right? Embodiment. And we're talking about perimenopause as this gatekeeper into greater embodiment and enlightenment. So it's the connect, because and I guess I can tell you, my background in this work, I started off as more of a disembodied spiritual healing practitioner, where, it was all about ascending and going up. And somebody was asking the other day, why do we have to feel quote unquote ascension symptoms? I know, horrible word, but there we go. Why do we have to feel ascension symptoms in the body? I'm like, oh dear one, but because you are not separate from the body. The poor thing wants to talk.
We came
But
here for a physical experience, right? Yeah.
like, why else? Then you can be. Of course, we are souls. Of course, I'm not saying we're not souls, but it's to me, it's such a powerful transmission right there that the body shows its full power. I command your full attention because you are having a hot flash, or you are having an anxiety attack, or you are furious. This is me talking. You cannot ignore me. Can you listen?
I just got chills because yeah, that you're right on the target. Yes. This is why perimenopause is so beautiful, because yeah, the body commands attention. It's undeniable. And how for how long of our lives have we been getting the message to deny our bodies, especially as women, take a Midol and get back to work, or, use, act like your period isn't going to interfere with your responsibilities in your day-to-day life. And how long are we internalizing these messages that tell us to deny the experience, to shut down and carry on? And who are we doing that for? And who
Yeah.
gains from us doing that? We have this this small window of time to experience the body, right? For how much effort it took any of us to get into the body in the first place. And we're here for such a small amount of time. The body is asking to be experienced. The body wants to be felt. It's part of our contract coming into the earth plane to show up and to delight in the body. So when we have these struggles, when things are uncomfortable, And it's hard to find nervous system regulation, and it's hard to find our way through these symptoms. The somatic coaching of opening to that experience, it's scary work. It's often about having, right, somebody that understands the context, that can guide you and hold your hand and say, I'm with you, right? I've seen this, I know this, I've done this. We can do it together. Yeah, you're not alone. Women have been doing this for thousands of years. This is part of our inheritance. This is part of our gift of being in a female body, right? Can we look at it and find the gift? And I think that's just so much of life. We're often given adverse circumstances and we have to find the gift, right? That's the part of the magic making, right? Like that's the charge. Can you make the most of it? Can you find your way through it to experience it and find appreciation? I think you're speaking to also the comfort. What I see so often in healers and in the awakened soul that's in the physical body, like we're very comfortable in the upper chakra system. Yeah, we're very
Yes, yes, of
comfortable up
course.
here
Yeah,
in the
of course.
crown and the third eye, the throat, and that's usually where people like to dissociate through. They want to go up and out. And we're getting into the womb. We're getting right down into that root energy, right? That second chakra, that sacral chakra, right? And the root being right there below it, opening to the earth energy. It's asking us to ground into the body. It's asking us to have the courage, have the strength, have the fortitude to show up and have this earthly experience, right? So there's so often wounding in the womb and this matrilineal inheritance, that ancestral line, the women that have come before us, the traumas that have come before us, the silencing, the misogyny, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, all of the wounding that's come before us, that's handed down, right? If you're familiar that you were an egg in your mother's ovary when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother. So we have a biological link 2 generations prior. And when we're talking about the hormonal baths of pregnancy, cortisone, cortisol, adrenaline, like we're getting bathed in the hormones, the stress hormones of those women that were pregnant with us, and those women that were pregnant with them, and those women that were pregnant with them. It's a direct link that goes back to the first woman, right? So all of that comes through. And if you're somebody that struggles with wounding in the womb area, sometimes it's bigger than you. Sometimes it's not even just yours. And I've had that experience myself. Like some of the pain and trauma I've had to alchemize in my own womb doesn't have story in my conscious memory. It's beyond what I can put my finger on. And still, if you can feel it, you can heal it, right? If it's upon you to bring this through into this timeline and I can feel into it and I can alchemize it, there is the healing work, right? Like ripples in a pond that go both ways in the timeline. Having mentioned this earlier, it's healing work that not only, yeah, liberates our ancestors, but also creates an opening for generations that follow us to have greater liberation, greater ease, greater comfort, and greater empowerment in their bodies. A big part of my motivation in this work is that I believe, right, that in stewarding our younger women, it's upon us to show up and embrace this experience. It's upon us to show them a path that that we not only value ourselves, but we value our elders, our ancestors, and those women that went before us. Because we value them as younger women and want them to be in their highest power. It's like passing the torch, right? We're saying, yeah, we want to leave the world a better place for you. We want you to have every opportunity to shine, to grow, to be free, to be in your power. And we do that by being in our own power. We do that by believing in our own value and our own worth first.
Yeah, so there's something interesting you said here about healing back and for because the womb does have those powers. And I love that you talk about this because sometimes or it's not always possible to find someone who does. But definitely it is the power of the womb realm. It is going backwards and forwards in time because as you say, it's embodied in the physical reality that we are connected to generations. But yes, there was the how I was wondering how did this ancestral piece emerge for you? Would you say there was, how am I going to phrase it? I mean, there's like two lines of thought here that I have now. One is, would you say ancestral trauma is what comes up uh, the most, perhaps during transition times in our life, and such as perimenopause? Is it like it's heavier, the heavier it was for ancestors? Or does ancestral power come in? Like, oh, my grandmothers had amazing womb powers, and now I have to reconnect to it. Or both? I guess I'm getting non-linear with that question, but I hope you understand me.
Yeah, I think you just came to it. I think it is both. They're two sides of the same coin, right?
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah,
same. It's the
yeah,
same
it
thing,
is.
right?
It
Yeah.
is.
And so when we are in the pain body and we're looking at trauma, it's very common to want to push against that and say, "Ouch. That hurts. That's
Mhm.
ugly, it's heavy, it's sad and ouch, I just want to have the power side. I just want to feel, yeah, the expansion. I just want to feel bigger. But those two, that's the yin and the yang, right? Those two, the shadow and the light, they're synergistic. They come together. It's a package deal. You don't have one without the other, right? And there's times in our lives that it might be more appropriate. We have greater capacity to do the shadow work. I really only coach into shadow work when it feels like we have capacity to go there,
Mm, mm. Yeah.
right? It's so important to shore up stability, safety, right? It's so important to feel grounded and feel embodied before we go into the Shadowlands. But inside the Shadowlands, there is great power. And there's no lack of trauma to draw from, whether it's your own or your ancestors. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like the trauma is never ending.
No.
It's never there's and you're never going to get through it, and it's not any one of our jobs to heal all the trauma of our ancestors. It's impossible anyway. It's just that is there and available as much as the power is there and available also. And if you want to tap into the power, it's it asks us to acknowledge the trauma also, right? It's not just there. Right. Acknowledging the trauma is what gives it the depth. It's what gives it the ground. Because back to this ascension feeling, like power can feel really heady. It can get really, it can get really ungrounded. It can
Mhm.
be really ego driven, and we
Mhm.
can see the danger of that when we are getting into the groundedness of humility, of being on your knees on the earth, of surrender.
Yes.
Yes, then that power has deep connection to the earth, and you become that portal, you become that open channel when we get the ego out of the way and we surrender to allowing the energy to flow through us, right? It's an incredibly beautiful, liberating feeling. Yeah. And can we hold the portals of heaven and earth open at the same time, bringing that energy into the heart and magnifying that heart energy into the world?
Yeah, I guess that's where we often get stuck. I know for myself, I can say I was trying, like, the reason I got into this very, quote unquote, high frequency and up there and crown chakra and up, the reason I got into that field, of course, it feels great. I'm naturally inclined to that, as all sensitive souls probably are, or most. But the other thing was, I did not want to feel ancestral heaviness and the family system heaviness, because, and when you come from Eastern Europe, I mean, everyone has there's plenty of trauma. And my instinct was, well, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I just have God, I go my way. But problem was, it did scream for attention anyway, in ways that, because I disconnected so much from the original root, I couldn't realize. And another problem was that I felt disempowered. I had no strength, I had no energy. Well, of course, I had no energy. Like, there were no roots to to draw the energy from. But it's a very interesting. Somehow, my mind, it still can't grasp it. Actually, I feel it's not a mind level thing. That power lies exactly where the trauma is. It's like you go back to or I go back to the old street where I grew up in, and I acknowledge that. And I'm like, you know what? I love you, street. You rough and rugged, but I'm okay with you. But something shifts, like something opens, and I recognize that I also have access to so much power and resilience and strength of my ancestral line, like they cannot be separated.
I think what I just picked up on your speaking is the what how fear shows up here,
Mm-hmm.
because fear is usually the gate that keeps us away from our trauma work. It's scary. It's scary, and it's delicate, right, to lead people into this work, because we need to titrate this the so that we're not re-traumatizing
Yeah.
by getting into the pain body without having that container of safety, right? So this is what trauma informed work is about. Building up that container of safety, titrating, doing a little bit at a time, coming back into regulation, pushing the envelope of dysregulation without going over the cliff, being able to just do a little bit at a time, small bites, baby steps, right? But this idea of fear, facing your own demons and your own monsters, about how scary it's gonna be to feel that terror that's wrapped up in the trauma. That work is it becomes kind of comical after the fact, because you look back and you're like, what was I so scared of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're really just facing your own resistance. It's
Yeah.
all the fear
Absolutely.
is tied up in the resistance. And once you get into it and come through the gate, you look back and there really wasn't anything that was so scary. It was all the resistance to it that was so scary. Because it's a house of cards. Once you come through that, then you get this incredible self-compassion. Then you have this expansion. Then you have this empathy for every other human on the planet that had gone through anything similar. It really brings us into a much more expanded consciousness when we face our fears, when we grapple with our fears. But fear is that thing that keeps us from wanting to explore the anxiety attack and
Mm.
explore the hot flash and explore dysregulated states, because we're just it's taught to us at such an early age to sit in the desk and be quiet and be in
Yeah.
control and stay
Yeah.
still, and that there is no room to move through our emotions and move through our feelings. We become disembodied when we're told to stay still and stay quiet and be a good student, be a good girl, especially. And the body naturally wants to get to move through it, right? We see animals, and we see animals act on their feelings, right? On their impulses. And then we see them recover, often by shaking,
Yeah.
licking, self soothing, finding other kin that they make contact with physically. There's all these things that it's obvious the nervous system knows how to do it if we let it. But we interrupt it by telling ourselves that we're not supposed to act like that. We're not supposed to move like that, right? We're not supposed to feel like that. And we've been, a lot of us have been punished, physically
That's the thing.
punished.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I got hit as a child for having too many emotions and being too sensitive and being too much of a big feeler. Uh, and so it doesn't feel safe to do it. It feels scary to do it. The body remembers the fear of being punished for feeling.
Mm.
So, yes, we're getting through layers of fear around feeling to even allow ourselves to have the experience of doing the healing work. And it's so common to avoid it. And it's fine as long as until that point that your body starts showing up and saying not anymore.
Not.
And before that happens, you'll often feel the call, hear the call to do the work. I started, whatever. I mean, I got in talk therapy when I was like 17, and I'd been in therapy my whole life basically. And until I got into somatic therapy a few years ago,
Mhm.
that's when I wrestled demons larger than any others I had encountered in my life.
Oh, wow.
My own terror around my own trauma was the biggest demon. That was the scariest feeling I've ever felt, is coming face to face with the terror that 5-year-old me felt the
Yeah.
first time I had any abuse, right? So thankfully, it's been really it's hard to do that work, and you want to do it with support, but um, because of that, then I'm able to integrate lessons that come up more quickly. I don't have to suffer as deeply now because I listen to the whispers instead of the screams, right? I try to attend to challenges in the energetic field before they come into the physical field, before they have to crystallize and get dense
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
physical body, right? And that emotional energy, it's really emotions are asking to be felt in the now. They're asking when they show up, it's unpredictable often, right?
Yes. Yes, you can't, as you said, you can't always feel your whatever rage at a board meeting when you have.
Right? Yeah. I was walking the dog the other day and I had rage come through me, and I looked around. No one was in the immediate space around me, and I put my hands over my mouth and I screamed so loud
Oh.
at the park, at
Hmm.
our little like
Hmm.
community park. I've just normalized for myself being able to cry in the grocery store line if I need to scream like, I wasn't going to scream like that anybody would be worried about me. I put my sleeves over my hands and I covered my mouth, but my body got to express itself. Right? I stomped my
Yeah.
foot and I had my hands in fists and I was hitting my thigh. I was having a rage, an expression of rage. And really, science shows us most of these emotions will pass within 90 seconds
Yeah.
through the body unless we're attributing story to them. So it's quick. If you can
It
find,
is.
even if you're in the boardroom and you can excuse yourself and just step out and do a small somatic practice, the body finds that release, right? And then we can come back to it later and get deeper into it when we have more time and space available for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I am no, I was just thinking yesterday we had bad weather and my plane didn't land on the first attempt. And it felt, and I felt so sad. So I want to go home. I don't want to be stuck in the sky forever. And I shed a few tears. But I was actually, it was a wonderful moment because everyone got a bit uncomfortable. No one was particularly happy because nobody really knew, well, maybe it's the wind, maybe it's something else, right? You never know. And then afterwards, but it's right, this emotion, the tears passed through. It was less than a minute. And then, everything is different. And then we land and everyone is happy and we're sharing candy and talking, and you're suddenly loving your fellow passengers. Everyone is in love with each other because, we shared a moment together. So it's good than just pretend that everything is fine and I'm going to be strong and I have no feelings.
Yeah, because when we cry, when we scream, when we move the body like that, we have this a sensation of relief, right? There's
Yeah.
spaciousness that comes after that release versus when you're trying to keep it in, it just feels like it's starting to pile up, like the top's gonna pop. Like it's going to start coming out sideways and it's going to start interrupting the harmony of your relationships and your home life and your work life, right? When we try to ignore the experience, the body is going to force its way through one way or another.
Would you say that this work that you did, and especially with the somatics and in those womb fields, as I like to call it now, um, would you say it also healed your lineage? Because we do mention our mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers, and I think on the one hand, maybe the immediate mothers and grandmothers, they had less opportunity to feel their feelings and to have their connection. Yeah. So we're doing it for them.
Yeah, it's making me emotional because I can feel both of my grandmothers coming
Mm.
in
Mhm.
right now, and I don't know that I've ever felt them beaming pride so much as I am right now in this moment. I they they're very happy that this work is being done. And it's about yes, them not having space, them not being allowed to take up space, them being told to be silent, them suffering in silence, them not being validated, being dismissed, women's health where it was 40, 60 years ago, 80 years ago. There's so much more that needs to be done to advance women's health, but compared to where it was, yeah, things are so much better. And it's important. It's necessary for those of us to that are called to speak up and speak out and to forward this agenda and say it's overdue. I have to do this work. I do it, yeah, for my grandmothers and I do it for the daughters that I don't even have, right? Yeah, yeah. And it's not just my grandma. It's a line of ancestors that goes, back for thousands of years. Like I said, there's no end to that healing and the ask for that healing and the gift of power that comes with it. Like just feeling them smile with so much pride just now is a great gift of doing this work. That's what it
Yeah.
feels like to have the level of satisfaction um, in doing the work. The gift of their pride, the gift of their happiness, their satisfaction, their joy. That's a really beautiful feeling. Really beautiful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because the reason I'm asking this, I started connecting with my paternal grandmother and maternal great grandmother, that much more recently, paternal grandmother started showing up like about a year ago. And by showing up, I mean in thoughts and memories. And some of those memories weren't even mine, but I was reminded of things. And I thought it was such a beautiful connection, but they are obviously happy that I am doing this work, that I am going into my body and into the um, more, embodied things, that I'm not just going for them up there, but that I'm looking into the patterns as they pass through me and in me, right? There's so much fear, for example, that we spoke of, so much fear that is not mine. It's triggered by old patterns, like, for example, I don't know, like not having enough money or something breaking down. And a fear that is more ancient than me comes up and says, oh my God, we're all going to die. It is the end of the world. Because at some point for them, it was. There were those very end of the world stories, right? Almost starvation and no help in sight. And those old programs get triggered. And I think it's beautiful to just acknowledge that ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's an incredible opportunity to tap into the human experience on so many different levels, right? If we have had infinite lifetimes, if your soul has come into this life already having experienced every other kind of life there is, we know exactly what it's like to feel all those experiences in the body. And when we tap in to those memories and get beyond just our singular experience, yes, then we're able to see one another with so much compassion and empathy that we're driven to want to alleviate the suffering of others, um, that we are just walking each other home, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great feeling of stewardship. It's a great feeling of like this brotherhood of humanity, the sisterhood of humanity. Uh, yeah, it conjures a lot of love for others, and that's right. That's being in the flow. Like that's being tapped into universal source consciousness is when, yeah, when we can conjure these feelings of love in our own bodies and really amplify that and live from a place of generous compassion for others. Like I feel like that's our highest calling.
And there is one more piece here that comes up for me in relation to that, and that's connection, right? Because I think we started with the modern system and the mechanical medical model and treating diseases as separate diseases, right? Like a piece here, a piece there. And ultimately, it's a very fragmented, very disconnected worldview, which I'd been trained to live in, and the science taught me to disconnect, and of course disconnect from the body, but also this disconnect from the vaster system. And maybe that's what makes it so different to me, is that, oh, and maybe the womb teaches connection because it is the mistress of connection, but suddenly feeling that, I am not separate. Oh my goodness, I'm connected to my ancestors and to those who will come after me. I'm connected to the sun and the earth and the plants. And the problem becomes smaller, like this trauma. Yeah, no, I can't wish the trauma to go away. But what shifts is that when I'm a part of a bigger picture, the worldview and the attitude shifts, and I kind of feel, well, maybe that's where that's the point here. That's kind of the beginning and the end of this conversation, um, that it is about connection, because the womb teaches us about connection.
That is so beautiful, Inga. Very well put. Yeah. Yeah. I think you summed it up perfectly.
Oh,
It is that
I
that
thought
womb,
I
right?
thought I was mumbling.
Oh, it was
So
great.
thank you.
I'm just sitting here nodding. Yes, 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 right? We come through the womb. Like we are born into this earth through the womb. Yes. Getting into that womb space and using that as a portal for connection to the earthly experience, the human experience, going through the womb to reach the ancestors. Like, there's so much opportunity there to connect with the womb and really feel into the magic and glory that's awaiting for us. And my heart goes out to every woman listening that has pain in the womb. There's so much there, and common there's so much of this common experience of fear of feeling what's there, right? Um, but yeah, I would just end with saying that that is the power of delight, the power of pleasure, the power of connection is all there waiting as well.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Mhm.
And Allison, before we conclude, so maybe you could just share with us if you want to be found. If you
Yes,
want to be found,
please.
how can people find you?
Yeah, healwithallison.com, Allison, two L's, Allison, slash perimenopause. My 3 month coaching container program is up and running. It's new. Numbers are small, groups are small, so it's great time to get in on that. The Instagram handle at Allison underscore Lorne, Lorne _CNM, certified nurse midwife. Yeah, I have retreats. I'm in San Luis Obispo, California. I have an upcoming retreat February 8th. I see clients one on one. I have a home office. And yeah, I just have a lot of different access points for people to work with me. Please find me. You can email me, AllisonLorne@gmail.com. Yeah, I'd love to hear from any of your listeners that are interested in doing any of this work. It's really my life's purpose and mission to help steward women into deeper connection with their body.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you for joining me. It's been an absolute delight.
What a
So
great conversation, Inga. Thank you so much.